Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you have been taking notes. It's been some great nuggets drops from all of our clinicians today. And I have the ultimate pleasure of presenting our next clinician who is going to drop some more gems on us. So I hope you guys are ready to lock in. We have please join me in welcoming Dr. Dee Dee Pitts, the director of bands at Gulfport High School in Gulfport, Mississippi. She's an award-winning music educator with nearly 2 decades of experience. Dr. Pitts holds a Doctor of Arts in Music Education from William Carey University and is widely recognized for her excellence in teaching, leadership, and advocacy for music education. Her research of the evolution of female band directors in Mississippi has contributed to the historical documentation of women in music leadership, and she is a sought after clinician and presenter for music educators across the region. We share her honor and to have Dr. Pitts share her expertise and passion with us today. So join me in welcoming Dr. Pitts.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Outstanding. I am absolutely honored and thrilled to be here. I want to thank the MBDNA for the opportunity to come and be a part of what you're doing here. I have enjoyed every session that I've been to. I've only missed probably about an hour and a half today. I've so enjoyed every session that I've had the opportunity to be a part of. And I'm just grateful that I get to be a part of the shared knowledge that gets to be presented today. A lot of on the information shared today, you saw my name was Dorshandrell Pitts, but all my friends call me Dee Dee. So friends, welcome in and hello, and thank you for being here today. So today we're going to go on a journey. We're going to embark on a journey that begins with a little bit of reflection, that begins with our current practices and our mindsets, and hopefully ends with some practical approaches as we enter our new school year. So I'm excited to share with you today, and I'm going to hop right in. And as I get my screen to share here, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself, and then tell you how this presentation came to be. So I am in my 22nd year of teaching public education, and oh my goodness, I cannot believe that I've been doing it that long. I feel like it just started yesterday because I'm always trying to learn and trying to be better at what I give to my students. I've been at Gulfport for 18 of those 22 years, and to be honest, it has been such a wild ride for me. I taught at the middle school for 8 years before they advanced me up. And I will make one correction: I am the associate director of bands. We do have a partnership there, and I just want to make sure that I'm completely transparent. Don't want anybody to get the wrong idea there. But I moved up to the high school and became the associate director of bands, where some of my responsibilities include, well, a lot of responsibilities, but just some of them include heading up most all things music for our program: marching band music, heading up the symphonic band. We have 4 concert ensembles, and I am privileged to be the conductor of the second ensemble. I get to do the jazz band. I get to lead a lot of our small ensembles. We have a very robust program across 3 campuses with 2 middle schools and 1 high school, with about 600 students in our program. And so one of the things as we hop into this that I'm always thinking about as an educator is, am I strengthening the depth of our program? Am I doing the things necessary to make sure that our program remains at the level of success that it has upheld for such a long time? And as a second band teacher, as a teacher of those who are not at the top, I'm always asking myself, am I requiring those students, am I requiring my students in the second ensemble who aren't in the wind ensemble, who aren't always our top players, am I requiring them to live up to that level of excellence? So out of that came the topic that we are going to talk about today. And here we're going to talk about, and hopefully you can see that slide there. Today we're going to talk about raising the floor, creating musicians who believe they can. I will say that I don't know if I'm always successful with that, but it's definitely something that I am trying to work on. So today we're going to talk about raising our floor. Here's a question that I think we all need to be asking ourselves. This is something I think about Who is your program built on? So we're going to challenge your thought processes today. So I ask you, you may want to grab a notepad or a napkin and a pen or a pencil and just start to jot down some things about yourself for yourself, so that as we enter the school year, we're ready to enter it with fresh minds and fresh approaches. As an educator, when I think about how we build and who we build on, it's important not only to be able to answer that question, but also to uncover any of the hidden biases that may change how we walk into every single rehearsal that we have. So I think it's very important. So when you think about that, in your experiences and the programs that you have, and I want you to be active in the chat today. I want you to try your best to just hop in and be a participant. Sometimes it's very hard to present to a screen, but I know you're back there. So just hop in that chat and answer some of these questions that we have for us today, so that we can have a conversation, if you will. In your experiences, have the programs that you've seen or been involved with, how have they been structured? Who is the perceived foundation for that? Is it our top performers, who I would call our all-state kiddos, our first chairs, our first bands, those who get to go to honor bands and clinics and things like that? Or is it built around our student leadership? It's those students who naturally align with the director team that is in place already. They just do innately what we think all band students should do. Or is it built around our middle musicians? Or what I'll air quote and say our average musicians, those who just quietly exist? Or is it built around our emerging musicians? And now these are our musicians who currently have the farthest distance to travel. Some of them know they have to travel that distance, and a lot of times many of them don't. And all of these are integral to our program. So drop that in the chat right now. Who are our programs or perceived programs built on when we're talking about the foundation of what our programs are? Just drop that in if you can, if you're able to drop that in. And so I'll tell you this, for me, it's the truth of the matter is this. Went too far. The truth of the matter is this: we celebrate our ceiling, and I will call our ceiling the maximum level of the maximum approach, the maximum success that we could have. We celebrate those first chairs. We celebrate those all-state members, those honor band participants, those high-level student leadership members. We celebrate those students on a continual basis. And then secondly, we agonize over those emerging students. And I want to step in your business, as my good friend Dr. Cameron Jenkins would say. I want to step in your business for the first time this afternoon, and I want to ask you, how many of us tie our program's reputation or success to our ceiling, right? To the success that we're making? And I'll be the first to raise my hand and say, it feels good to be recognized by our friends and our colleagues for the accolades of our ceiling. But to sum this up, we are spending a majority of our time on those who probably need the least amount of encouragement. And we're spending the other majority of our time, if we split that evenly, to those, if allowed to, that we would spend every waking moment of our day trying to figure out how to help them succeed. So I want us to recognize that and understand that that's our truth. Now that's nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. Like we put out those press releases. It gets our program the recognition that it deserves. It gets our program the finances that it deserves, so that we can continue to grow. But here's the reality, friends. And this is what I want you to know, is that our programs are built on the floor. Every single chair in your band room, in your ensemble, matters. Great programs are built and supported by everyone. And so sometimes we spend so much time on the extremes that we forget this very important fact, that your best musicians, they may raise your ceiling, but everyone else determines your floor. And that everyone else, it will become our future first chairs. They'll become our future leaders of tomorrow. They will become our future ceiling. So when we create musicians who believe that they can from the floor, we just lift everyone. So for the next few minutes, we're going to talk about the floor and define it, and so that we can all understand what it is, so that we know how to move forward with our thoughts and how we want to approach our programs, or our potential programs if we don't have one yet. So what is the floor? We've all heard slogans like this, and just put an emoji in the chat if you've heard something like this. We are only as strong as our weakest member. How many of you have heard something like that? If you've heard something like that, just put an emoji in the chat. And I will be honest with you, most times when we hear that, the connotation that it carries is very negative. It's not something that we're trying to use to build up. It's something that we're trying to bring awareness to those folks at the bottom. But every ensemble issue is somehow perceived to be the problem of our weakest member. Even in our co-curricular classrooms, even in our math and our English teachers, they have their bottom 15 and their bottom 20 and their bottom whatever percent that is, and they use that as a reason to say that this is why my test scores overall aren't as good as they need to be. And I want to change or challenge at least our perception today. I want to just give you a challenge. The floor has nothing to do with ability. Now, I'm going to say it one more time so that we can all let that sink in. The floor that we're speaking of today in this context has nothing to do with ability. We all know that we have varying levels of musicianships in our ensembles, but our program and our ensemble potential requires a mindset shift that begins to prepare musicians who believe they can, no matter what their ability level is. I'll say that last part one more time. A mindset shift that prepares musicians who believe that they can, no matter what their ability level is. So for a second here, Casey, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my friend Casey's story. Casey is about to be a 10th grader in our high school ensemble. She entered high school last year as the very bottom chair of our trumpet section. She was trumpet number 27. And she made it to that cutoff. So she wasn't in our technique ensemble. She actually made the marching band, trumpet number 27. And we know trumpet sections can be cutthroat sometimes. And she made the ensemble and was in that section. So God bless her heart. But during marching season, we started to notice that she was kind of falling backwards a little bit, and we were wondering, well, what's going on? So immediately, my brain goes into, okay, what can we do to help bring Casey up to the level of everybody else? We started to build her up. We started praising her a little bit. We started giving her a little bit more attention. We started meeting her exactly where she was. Instead of expecting her to be the first chair, we met her at bottom chair and expected her to try to be like chair number 26 and then chair number 25. I mean, we praised even the smallest of accomplishments for my friend Casey. We helped her to understand the concepts that she thought she knew, right? So a lot of our students, they think they know these things and they go out and they do it, and then we realize that they don't really understand what they thought or what we thought they knew. She began to gain a little bit of confidence, right? So Casey now is starting to understand a little bit more. And so instead of hiding behind everybody else and being at the bottom, she begins to ask questions, and she begins to do a little bit of practice. She begins to start to understand, okay, I'm starting to sound a little bit better. I'm practicing more and I'm sounding better. And because I'm sounding better, I want to practice a little bit more. She started to recognize her own errors. So Casey has gone from I'm at the bottom and I don't know that I'm making mistakes to all of a sudden she knows that she's making them and she's starting to correct them. She began to believe that she could be just as good as anybody else out there with us at that moment. And at the end of her marching season, we auditioned for our concert ensemble. Now, she was at the very bottom of concert band, of course. This is where we are. Out of our 4 bands, she was at the very bottom of our concert band. And so over the course of that marching season of us building her up and reinforcing and helping her understand, she auditioned and homegirl made it up to the 2nd band. She hopped all the way from the bottom of the 3rd band to the bottom of the symphonic band. She jumped a lot of people. She raised her floor from where she was to where she got to because she began to believe that she could. So if I'm saying that our floor is not determined by ability, then what the heck is our floor determined by? The floor is this. It is our ensemble's minimum level of confidence, independence, and ownership. Now, I want you to understand that I'm not tying any of the floor of what we're talking about today to an individual's ability to do whatever it is they're doing at that moment. It's not the outward, it's what their potential is, right? So our floor right now for our ensembles, as you think about where you're about to hop into this school year, this new year, our floor is set by what the minimum level of the majority of our ensemble's confidence level, independence level, and ownership level is. But so raising the floor is not about lowering our expectations. And I want us to be clear about that. I'm not asking us, as we're talking about raising the floor, to dumb down anything and to make it so easy that the students have no way but to achieve. It's about raising that minimum level of confidence, independence, and ownership. And the stronger these qualities become, the stronger the entire ensemble becomes, and then the stronger the program becomes, right? So you don't have to answer this out loud or put anything in the chat, but I want us to ask ourselves this question and jot down your thoughts just for yourself for reflection. How many of us have been guilty of attributing the floor to a person or to an ability level, right? How many of us have been to that place? It's okay. I have been there too. I was a young teacher once, and I used that statement: we're only as strong as our weakest member. But the floor isn't a person. I would beg to differ. I would argue, or I would suggest, that the floor is a mindset. Right? So Casey grew, my friend Casey, in her story, she grew in all three of the categories that we see here on the screen. She grew in confidence, she grew in independence, and she grew in ownership. There was no magic pill. There was no magic sprinkling of pixie dust that I was able to sprinkle on her that all of a sudden said, now I am better. But she worked hard. She realized what she didn't know. She allowed somebody to help her, and then she got a little bit better. She didn't all of a sudden become the principal chair of the wind ensemble. So as we're talking about growth, understand that it's not that type of growth. But I would suggest that the growth that she made did grow our band program and our culture, allowing even the highest members of our ensemble to achieve more because of her newfound confidence, independence, and ownership. If you're able to open up the chat, let's talk a little bit. Open up the chat. Let's drop our answers in here if we are able to. I want you to finish this sentence for me, if you don't mind. If it'll cooperate with me. My students always ask. What are some of the common questions that your students are always asking you in the midst of your rehearsal? Just drop one in, drop one or two of those in, and let us know, what are your students asking you in rehearsals? I can tell you a couple. I'll get you started here. A couple of folks absolutely miss dumb questions. Absolutely. And let me put a name to those questions. Here's some questions that I'm often getting in my rehearsals. What is that note? Now, I'm talking about high school students. What measure did you say? Yeah, Monica, what measure did you say again? Or this one gets me. How do you finger that note? Okay, that's also a question. Just keep popping your questions. I'll read them as I see them. I've got it. I got them. I got the chat popped up. Can I practice in the hallway? Oh my gosh. What time does rehearsal end? Come on with it. Keep talking to me. Are we gonna play today? Are we having class? Do I need my music? Y'all are killing it. I love this. Tell me if this is right. How many of y'all ever got a kid to just walk up to you and say, tell me if this is right? Excuse me? You are looking at the same thing that I'm looking at, dear heart. You should be able to tell me if it's right. Or this one, how does it go again? I love that. Will you play or count this? Will you do this for me? Or how does this go? Yeah, Lois, same thing for me. How does this go? And so we all have these students. My instrument doesn't work. Can you fix it? Well, I probably can, but not in the middle of class. I absolutely love our students, and we seem to all be teaching the same ones. Amen. So here's the thing. Even if we've given them all of the tools and all of the information and all of the whatever effort we can give them to make them do or ask them to do what we're asking them to do, they're still going to ask these questions. So here's what I want you to think about. What can we learn from these questions as we talk about our floor? right? And I want us to remember what that floor was. We talked about the floor being our ensemble's minimum level of confidence, independence, and ownership. So what do all these questions reveal, if they reveal anything, about our program's floor? What does it reveal about our program's ceiling? What does it reveal about our ability to achieve? Does it reveal these things? I would say unequivocally yes. These questions and the questions that you have on a day-to-day basis in your ensemble reveal so much about what your program's floor and ceiling are. I believe that they reveal a bit about our beliefs as well as the educator about our floor and how we perceive our students. So many times my default response when I go into the office after having a rehearsal where I've had these questions is, man, my kids, they're so lazy. They don't want to do anything. They want me to do everything. Why are they so lazy? And this mindset, in my opinion, begins to affect how we approach them. But what if I asked you a favor today? I'm going to ask you a favor. I'm going to ask you to shift your mindset. And I want you to think of it in this way. They've learned that someone else will solve the problem for them. Now I'm going to give you a second to just let that sink in. We start out, we say they're lazy. But let's shift that, right? If we're shifting our mindsets today, let's really go in and let's shift it. They've learned that someone else will solve the problem for them. Quick therapy session here. We're all family. So I'm going to step a little bit heavy into your business while I go along my journey. Who's doing the thinking in your rehearsals? Who's doing the thinking? Who's doing the lion's share of thinking in our rehearsals, right? Is it our teachers? Is it ourselves? Or is it the student? Right? I want you to think about that. And full transparency moment here, because this is not, friends, we're doing nothing wrong. No, this is a moment for us to recognize where we are so that we can start to grow, right? Full transparency. Often in my classrooms, when I was a young teacher and emerging, I was guilty of believing that I was the source of the information. I'm the source of learning, that I held all the information and my way was the only way. See, I teach a second band. And these are the students who don't believe, right? That I didn't make the first band. Dr. Piz, I didn't make the first band. I'm not as good. So I don't know why you're asking me to give this much effort. I'm not that person. And in my second band, even though that's some of the mindset, that second band, even before I took it over, had seen so many years of consistent success that it was upon me to continue that tradition, right? But also in the time that I've been, in education and at this level teaching, I've seen a little bit of a constant decline in the level of musicianship in that ensemble. So in search of that proverbial rating that we all need to have because we think our job is dependent on it, this is what happened. And this hurt me to my heart. But in my effort to uphold tradition, I created dependent musicians. They learned helplessness from me. I will tell you that is one of my greatest, I realized one of my greatest failures as a teacher. I lowered the floor, right? So if my job was to raise the floor of our program by creating musicians who believe that they could, I inadvertently lowered that floor because I created dependence on me. I did this for years. It was not intentional. And if this is you and you are riding along in this boat with me, or these shoes fit your feet as well, understand that it's not intentional. But it comes from a place where we have deadlines and we have things that we have to get done. We have performances that we have to do. And this is the most efficient, this is the easiest way for us to get to the desired result. I want you to take a look at how easily this happens, right? So we can't fix what we don't acknowledge. So let's take a look at how easily this happens for us. This is how the cycle went for me for years. I would teach a concept, Go with me, whatever, pick you a concept and let's teach that in our minds together. We're teaching this concept. The students would not get it quick enough, right? Quick enough for what we would think or what I would think is going to lead to success. So what I would do is I would go in and I would solve whatever issue it was to help them get that at the quickness level that I needed it to. And because I did that, because I solved it, right, they would continue to struggle. Like, look at this circle. We're going around this circle. And I'm thinking, well, gosh, my Lord, we are running out of time. And so what do? I solve it again. Do you see how easy it is for us to get into this cycle? And the students learn this. If I wait long enough, she's going to get impatient and she's going to tell me how to do it. She's going to tell me what to do. Right? And the cycle would repeat no matter how new the concept, how old the concept, how attainable the concept, or how difficult the task was. Right? It would continue. And that's how easy that cycle begins and how easily it can perpetuate. It's not intentional, my friends. The learned helplessness is not intentional. But it is there, right? So let's listen. I know I'm asking you to be active. I'm asking you to be active in this chat. So please go with me. If you're able, open that chat up again and let's chat. When a student plays something incorrectly, what is your first instinct? We know what, hold on, before I give you these options, we know what we should do. So don't answer what you should do. I want you to tell me what your default answer is in the thick of it, right? Is it this? Do I tell them the answer? Do I B, go ahead, drop in your answers as you know. B, do I demonstrate it? Do I ask questions or do I have peers to help? Come on, drop them in. I know we're in here. I know you have hung in for a long time. So stay with it. Stay with me. Hop in and give me your feedback here. Some of us are on the ask questions, right? We got some who are saying we tell them the answer. We got a lot of them that are saying we ask questions. Outstanding. B, but it depends. I love that, Shannon. But it depends. Address it and then model it to them. Okay, address it and model. A little bit of B and a little bit of C. So let me be honest with you, because I can only present from what I know, right? I don't know your situation, but I do know mine. For a long time, my answer would be A or B. Sorry, I went too far. My answer would be A or B, and it's okay if that's our starting point. It's not okay if we stay there, right? So let's talk a little bit about how we can break that cycle. We didn't mean to create the cycle, right? Remember that cycle where we teach, the student the student struggles, we come in, we save the day, we're Superman, and we keep going and they struggle. We come in and we save that. We've created this cycle of learned helplessness, but we don't have to stay in it. I'll say this one more time because I don't want us to be, I love that, or just tell them what is wrong. Like, yeah, we are in so many different states of mind in the midst of our rehearsal. And depending on what that rehearsal is leading into, a football game or a concert evaluation or a concert for our community, that answer could change, right? But if we want to change the cycle, we have to change our language. We have to change our mindset. We first have to build the confidence. So look at this with me. It says efficient teaching. And I want to tell you this before we hop into some of these statements, that efficient is not always effective. Say that in whatever space you're in. Say it with me. Let's say it together because we're family. Efficient is not always effective. Yes, I hear you. Thank you so much. If we tell them the issue and how to fix it, right, that is efficient. Right? We as teachers can get the results that we want pretty fast. So I'm going to tell you what the problem is. And then I'm going to tell you this is how to fix that problem. And then I'm going to say, play it again because we have the problem. I told you how to fix it. I want you to play it to see if you can correct the issue that I told you that you had. And then we realize that they couldn't. And we tell them that's not right. Right? We can tell you the concept, we can tell you how to do the thing, tell you it's not right and make you play it over and over again, all the while having built no confidence, having built no dependence, and having built no ownership. And I want you to remember, I'm going to continue to remind you that our floor is not tied to a person or tied to ability. It's tied to our ensemble's minimum level of confidence, independence, and ownership. Fast is efficient, but if we want to raise the floor, we have to choose a different approach, right? We have to. We have to create musicians who believe they can, and this takes time. So let's look at the difference between what we know is efficient and the efficient teaching. Guys, you get the results, right? And I can't see you all in the room, but you get those results. Let's look at the difference between what we know is efficient and how we can be more effective. Efficient versus effective. So effective, it really means we're trying to lean towards more independent learning. So instead of I'll tell you, it is, what did you notice? Right? And instead of saying this is how you do this, well, what did you hear? Tell me what you heard again. Okay. Instead of play it again, now what are you going to try to fix what you noticed and what you heard? Okay. And then, nope, that wasn't right. Well, then how can we fix it? And see, this independent learning takes patience. And while we're instilling belief in self, we also are raising our floor, right? But it takes patience. If we can replace, here's an action step for you. If you can replace your action statements, the things that you are telling them to do, with meaningful leading questions, not only will we break the cycle of learned helplessness, but we push our students past what they believed they were capable of doing. Because here's the thing, the goal isn't to have better followers. The goal is to have musicians who don't need us as much. Now, here's the truth as I see it. All right. Now, this is just the truth as I see it in my years of experience and what I've learned through working at the program that I'm working in. That great programs aren't built by producing more first chair players. That great programs are built and sustained because our average students stop believing that they're average. Let that sink in for a second. Our great programs aren't built because we have an army of first chair players and all state players, but it is built and sustained because our middle musicians, remember we talked about who our program's built on, our ceiling, or our top, our student leaders, our middle. It's because those middle students stop believing that they're average, my friend. That is one of the keys to success. So with that, let's hop in and see what confident, independent musicians do. If we're building up a floor, if we're raising a floor, and I'm going to keep reiterating it because I think it's important that we understand that a floor is not a person, that the floor is not an identity, the floor is a belief, right? So it's important for us to understand the things that we need to be reinforcing as confident, independent musicians in our ensembles. Now, the attributes of a confident, independent musician are the same no matter your experience, right? I can be as many years experience as I am and be confident and independent, just as the beginner trumpet player who started just yesterday can be confident and independent. Okay. But often let me put myself on the chopping block here. I don't require my middle level students to demonstrate confidence and independence. Are they capable? Absolutely. Does it often take a bit longer for them to get the concept and to do what I'm asking? Yes, it does. And sometimes we have to allow them to struggle. Now I'm about to drop a nugget for you. You got your pen and your napkin and your notebook. Struggles are not failures. They are fuel, right? Struggles are not failure. They are fuel. So should we still expect that they show us these skills that we're about to talk about? Absolutely. Right? So I want to hop into these and let's talk about what confident, independent musicians do. And I would guarantee you every time you see one of these, this is something that you personally do. I would guarantee it. So let's see. They actively listen. So we are encouraging active listening in our ensembles. This has to be taught, my friends. Active listening is different than passive listening. And a lot of our students, and a lot of us as educators, sometimes we passively listen. We have to teach them how to listen, what to listen for, and then provide examples of what correct listening or what they're listening for. We have to provide those soundscapes so their brain can connect those dots, right? This is the foundation. The ears are the gateway to everything, right? We're building confidence. We're building independence. The ears are the gateway. And a great guide to active listening is to break it down into the smallest achievable chunks. Like if I'm teaching the technique band at Gulfport High School, then I'm not going to give them all the categories on the sheet that we would be judged from. That would not be smart for me. They would not understand that, right? I'm going to break it down into some chunks that I believe that their ability level will allow them to be successful with. So let's just take, for example, that we break it down into tone, rhythm, and expression. So within tone, depending on your ensemble level, you're teaching them to listen for intonation, balance, blend, in tune, all of these things. Am I listening in my trios? Am I listening to my front to my back, to my diagonals? Am I balancing within my family? All of these things we're teaching them to listen for. Rhythm, am I accurate? Am I precise? Am I actually doing the right rhythm? Or am I playing a rhythm that I hear everybody else playing, not knowing that mine is a little bit different? How am I listening? An expression can cover everything else. Am I playing the intent of the music, right? And this will get them started. You can just break it down into a tone, a rhythm, or expression. And then once we do that, we start to diagnose what we heard. And because we've given them those tools, they already know exactly, or we've given them examples, they hopefully understand how to diagnose what they're hearing and feel a little bit more confident in answering those questions. And then after we diagnose, here's the one that I think is hardest for our average and middle musicians, is that we have to adjust. This moves the musician from an observer in our ensemble to a participant, right? I can be playing in an ensemble and not be fully participating. And I think maybe in our younger years as educators, we probably had many of those moments where we were just in rehearsal because we had to be in rehearsal. We want to move our students from an observer to a participant. And this is one of the more challenging steps, but I think adjustment has a twin. It's persistence, right? I think they go together. So when we find the adjustment or we find the issue and we make the adjustment, what if it's not right? Just because we know something is wrong doesn't mean we're going to make the adjustment, the right adjustment every single time. We may have to take more than one opportunity as we're playing to figure out what went wrong. Confident and independent musicians just don't give up. They persist. They say, okay, this note did not, something about this note doesn't sound right. They may not have the language to know that they're playing a sixth partial note and it's sharp, and on their instrument they need to make some adjustment, but they're going to hear something and they're going to make an adjustment. Even if they go the wrong way, they've made an adjustment and they hear it's wrong and say, oh, that was not right. Let me go back. Let me try something else. But they have persisted in trying to find the answer to the question. And then after they persist, they reflect. Being able to review the process that they just went through to get to either the intended or not intended outcome, because it may not have worked, is very important. It's powerful because they don't want to repeat the same thing. Remember, we're building independence, right? So if they don't understand how they got there, and if they don't understand what steps they took, it's going to be very difficult for them to recreate that process. And so this is where consistency is built. And then finally, they don't give up, they try again. And I think this is similar to persistence, but a little bit different. They let every musical interaction influence their desire to keep coming back to the activity, to keep coming back to rehearsal, to keep coming back and being the best that they can be. So if the goal isn't for us to have better followers, right, but to have musicians who don't need us as much, then we have to reinforce these steps. We have to reinforce and teach active listening, diagnosing, adjustment, persistence, reflection, and the ability to try again. We're steadily working to raise our floor, and the next step that we're about to get to after we've built some confidence, we built some independence, you see we're going through all of the steps of how we get our floor to raise. Then after this, we have to talk about ownership. So ownership, when we boil it down, friends, and I'm going to check the chat here in just a second and just answer any questions and just have a moment of dialogue. Ownership, when we boil it down, is this. It's taking personal responsibility for all outcomes, not one outcome, not the desired result, but taking responsibility for all of our outcomes, the successes, the failures, the progress, the stagnation. There's no blame there. There's no excuses. And all the while we're doing this, so we're taking responsibility in ownership. That the last nugget is that we're empowering others to do the same. And this is a step where many including myself, often lose steam in this process of building musicians or creating musicians who believe they can. Our ceiling musicians, our top level of success in our programs don't need any help with this most times. They already embody ownership. Their positive results validate their innate drive to continue. They have learned already to own all of their outcomes. So they're not perfect, of course, but they don't need near as much reassurance. They also, however, are not the majority. So if we want to raise the floor of our programs, we have to empower our middle musicians to take a little bit more ownership. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about my friend Damiana before I hop in the chat and see what's going on over there. So let me tell you a little bit about my friend Damiana as we talk about ownership. Damiana, something about this last year's ninth grade class is also going to be an incoming 10th grader this upcoming year. Clarinet player, bubbly kid, everybody loves her. Her transition to middle school, from middle school to high school, was a tough one because just like it is for many, but she just didn't know the rigor and the expectation that she was going to experience when she hopped from where she was to where she was going. But I will tell you this, if marching band does nothing else, it has the ability to hook a student into an activity. But she was a social marching band member, right? She wasn't necessarily, I want this to be great. She loved getting on the bus and she loved playing the stand tunes. This is my Damiana, it's such a sweet baby. But it didn't improve her musicianship, right? So auditions roll around for concert season, just like it did for our friend Casey back a little bit ago. And she wasn't our worst player, right? So remember, Casey was chair 27. Damiana was in the middle of the pack. Damiana was solidly probably in the top 2 or 3 chairs of our concert band, or maybe the bottom of the symphonic band. She was on this cusp right here. So we have a conversation, Damiana and I. Say, Damie, listen, I have a question and a challenge for you. You're on the breaking point between the top end of our concert band and the bottom end of our symphonic band, and I just don't know what you can handle. What do you think? I allowed Damiana to start taking a little bit more responsibility for her confidence, her independence, right? Her ownership. And she said, I can do it. Absolutely, Dr. Pitts, I got you. I will not let you down. Right now, with as many clarinetists as we have, the middle of the pack could mean a lot of things, right, in that situation. So she entered the symphonic band as last chair clarinet. And that's okay, right? She was in there. She was smiling. She was happy, right? Remember, she was our social butterfly. She just loved being involved, right? But we have tests every week, right? Damiana was not ready for the rigor, for the level of expectation. And every week there's something that she was tested on. It was a playing test. It was a scale test. It was a technical study. It was a pass off from the concert lit, something. And after every one, she, like every other student that I teach during the concert season, we have a conference about what you did, how you need to improve, what you need to do better, all of those things. And they get this little handout back and got all these circles and pluses and writing, and I've just poured my heart out to these students. And she's not improving, right? So 2-3 weeks in, Damiana's still the same Damiana that she was on week 1. And I reminded her, I said, Damiana, you said you could do this. You said you understood this challenge. And I reminded her that if I didn't think she could do it, I wouldn't have even offered her the opportunity to try. Damiana starts to take this to heart, and she starts. And now in class, she was not a social butterfly. She hid a little bit, just like our friend Casey. She didn't want to say anything. She didn't want to single herself out. But as I started to reassure her that this is something that she could do, she started to get a little bit more confidence. She started answering those questions in class, sometimes correct, sometimes not. We all have those, right? She started to be an active member of the conversations that we're having. Her independence started to grow a little bit. Not only was she answering the questions, now she's asking questions. Can you go back to measure number whatever that was and get, I'm sorry, I did not catch the instructions, right? She's asking questions, and then all of a sudden in our testing conferences, she's starting to ask more relevant questions, right? She's asking things like, okay, can you give me one thing that I need to do to make something better from this week to next week, because I'm not okay with this grade. Like, she started to care a little bit more. And then she's coming in during lunch block, right? She's coming in during lunch block and she's playing and she's practicing, right? And we know that the better our students sound, the more they want to do that practice thing, right? And then she's asking, can you give me 3 things this week that I need to work on, Dr. Pitts? I really want to improve. And she's not getting upset, right? She's owning some things. She's saying, you know what, that was not my best right there. I know that wasn't my best. I should have prepared more. I know where I went wrong. I just didn't give it the time it needed. I'm just looking at Damiana like, what is going on, my friend? She began to believe that she could, and she took responsibility for her outcomes. Not only that, she brought people with her. And so in her little circle during the lunch block, after they got done eating whatever wonderfulness there was in the cafeteria, then she was bringing people in with her, and they were working together. She began to believe that she could, and she took the responsibility. And she went from being a social member of our band to being a completely bought-in member of our symphonic band. It's almost to the point, not almost, to the point where at the end of the year, we tried out the clarinet solo for our upcoming field production. And Damiana hopped in there and tried out for this clarinet solo. Y'all, and this was above her skill level, so she had to practice. And when she came in the room, she came in, and when I tell you, my jaw dropped. Because I was so proud that this young lady had taken ownership of her outcomes, of her success. Now, she didn't get the solo, and she's going to work on it. But you know what she said when she walked out of the room? She said, I'll be back, and next time I'm going to get it. Woo! Don't we want students like that? We want those students like that. Damiana just needed permission to believe that she could. Right? So we're talking about raising our floor and why this matters. And I want us to think about all of our students in our program who just need somebody to help them believe and give them permission that, yes, you can. Because my gosh, when we do that, our floor doesn't just grow. That thing just busts through the ceiling that we previously had. I'll hop in the chat and see if there's anything that needs to be, and y'all just the leaders of the group, just hop in if there's anything in there that I just need to address, and make sure that I'm not leaving anybody out there. So I'm gonna keep going because I've got a few more things. I want to make sure I get it all in, guys. I'm passionate about students and their growth, and I just want to make sure that whatever's on my heart that I give you today. So she needed the permission to believe that she could. Right? That's all she needed. So here's, in my opinion, where ownership begins, and you can take this and understand how Damiana got from where she was to where she began. In my opinion, ownership begins with an "I can't" statement. Take whatever concept it is that you want to teach, whether it's multiple tonguing for the first time with our brass players, or maybe it's getting into the altissimo register and some of our woodwind instruments and those fingers that they just can't figure out, and the tongue placement and all the things. It begins with an "I can't" statement. The first time that you introduce it, they're going to say something to you like this: "I can't do that." And I know I'm talking fast, but I want to get it all in. I can't do that. But once they get over the initial shock, hopefully we can move to this. We can move to, all right, I'll try it. Okay, you keep telling me that if I just break it down and go slowly, that I'll be able to get this concept. So I'm going to try. And we listen to them, my friends, over and over again. We encourage them and we allow them to go through this process. And all the while, we're building their confidence and their independence and their ownership, right? This is what confident, independent musicians do. They try again. Remember those 6 attributes that we talked about. And then we get to a point to where I think I know, okay? I think I know. Right? They come to a place of base level understanding. And now they're asking questions, and they're asking the right questions, and they think they know what it takes to do what they're asking, what we're asking them to do. So the results that they're producing, they may not get it consistently. They may not be able to double tongue consistently or with the level that we want them to at the end, but they are understanding the concept. And then the "I think" step, that's where belief comes in, right? And once they believe it, all of a sudden we get to that day where they figure it out. Not only is the understanding at 100%, right? My brain understands. Dr. Pitts, you give me a minute. Let my mechanics catch up, because I figured this out. I know what to do. And then we move to "I can." And one day they walk in and they say it with their chest. They play "I can do this." And not only do they say it, they demonstrate it. So ownership doesn't begin with students believe me. It begins when they realize they don't need me to solve all of their issues. And this has to be a personal journey for our students. We can tell our students that you need to try, that you need to figure this out, that I know you can do this. Yes, you can, but they have to believe it and move to, I can do this. So the floor of every program is determined by the students who believe they can't. That's the floor. That's how we determine. But if we raise their belief, are you with me? If we raise their belief from I can't to I can, we just raised our floor. We just raised our floor. So here are some, and I know I'm hurrying and I'm talking pretty fast because I want to make sure that I get through all of the things. 5 rehearsal strategies, right? So what we just talked about, if we go backwards, if we think back one slide, what we just talked about was the student side of that. This is how they move, but this is how we need to move as educators as we are building the floor of our program up. And it takes a little bit of culture change for yourself. As an educator, my personal culture, we can make small incremental changes that will affect how our floor rises and if it rises. Here's one thing I know: change can be difficult, but sometimes change is necessary for overall health of the program. Because if we only highlight our ceiling musicians without realizing that one day they will graduate, we begin to hinge our success on decisions based on a small percentage of students who would excel with or without us. And that's not helpful for our program. So here's the first step. We're going to wait 10 seconds longer. We're going to let the ensemble, we're going to do whatever we're doing, then we're going to stop and we're going to let the ensemble have a chance to process what we just gave them. But I know you're saying to yourself, but I want to be more effective. It'll be uncomfortable at first, but just sit with that uncomfortableness, because this is where growth starts. And then we're going to ask before telling. We're going to speak. We're going to speak about changing those action statements that we were telling them what to do, and we're going to ask them those leading questions and give them a chance to show you that they can. I know I'm going fast, just stay with me. Then we're going to let them identify their own mistakes, right? This is in a rehearsal setting, right? We talked about these things being personal character traits for the student, but this is you in rehearsal changing how you approach the students and letting them demonstrate their floor characteristics, right? Let them identify. They will need our help, but they are not helpless. Okay? They will need our help, but they are not helpless. You may want to write that down. If we prepared them well enough, they should be working on hearing and diagnosing and adjusting, because remember, we talked about that. And then once they've shown a measure of success in first 3 steps, allow structured leading opportunities, right? It doesn't have to be a full-on sectional, but maybe even peer-to-peer tutoring. I've seen how this can transform an ensemble, right? Because students begin to take ownership of the things they feel responsible for. Just give them the opportunity to do it. And then finally, in your rehearsal, you're going to give them an opportunity to reflect before dismissal. Oftentimes we will have a stellar rehearsal and just dismiss as if nothing spectacular happened. Plan time for the ensemble to reflect on what went into that so that they can recreate that. I live in the average student world. I love the average student world. I believe that the average student is our majority, is our greatest opportunity to raise the floor of our program. Every rehearsal that you have should leave the student believing one more thing than when they walked in. And for me this is my overarching statement: I can do hard things, right? And I want you to see how this manifests. And this is going to fly by fast, and I'll put the slide presentation in the Google folder. But let's see how this manifests. Every single time a student, picture one of your favorites, moves from I can to I can't, right? I can't to I can, excuse me. Every time they move from I can't to I can, that's a small win. Play the first 3 octave scale. That's a small win. Now they have evidence that they can do what they thought they couldn't do, right? And it's not just one piece of evidence. That arrow goes multiple ways. So every single time a small win builds evidence, they bank it. And then they have confidence, right? Our small wins lead to evidence that we use to build our confidence. And because we built that confidence up, even when the desired result doesn't come immediately, it continues to grow. Now they know they can do the hard things. And as their confidence grows, it gives us the opportunity as teachers to celebrate their growth. This in and of itself is transformative, right? Here's the magic. And I'm almost to the close, and I'm almost there. Here's the magic. If this is our ceiling, this is our maximum success. What most would suggest is our cream of the crop. And this is our floor. For me, what I feel is our highest level of potential, right? Where our middle students live, right? This is where we probably should be spending the most minutes of our day. Then one confident student, take our Damiana or take our Casey from my world, or take your confident student that you're thinking about, who believes that they can raises that floor a little bit more. See, that floor was down and now we're up a little higher. Then that one student transforms a section in the band, their whole section. They have the ability to transform the vibe of their whole section, not because anything special, but just because they believe so much that everybody else around them starts to believe, right? Success is catching, right? And then that section transforms the whole rehearsal. Do you see that our floor is just ever so steadily rising? There's no secret sauce. Success begets success, right? And we're consistently raising the floor. And when those rehearsals start to become the expectation and students take ownership, then that transforms our culture. Begins to change. I'm going to echo my friend Dr. Jenkins, who said culture is what we allow. So when what we allow consistently leads to growth, that's when the things begin to change. Do you see it happening? We're consistently and persistently raising the floor. This culture transformation then transforms our whole program. My friends, it'd be very easy for us to focus on the max success. It's at the top, right? That's what people see, right? And here's the truth. They're going to get better. That success is not going to change, right? But the question is this: is our program truly healthy if we only grow the ceiling? Look at what happens if we choose a different approach. The ceiling is still there. And if we intentionally target our greatest potential, we begin to raise the floor. And as we raise the floor, the ceiling raises as well. Everybody rises together. This push from the floor doesn't limit our maximum success. But what it does is it pushes it to places that we cannot even see yet. Right? So for the last time today, while I'm speaking to you, and I know, guys, it's a lot of information, but I think it's so worth it as we go into the school year to establish these things. So for the last time for this afternoon, step into your business. And if you're able to hop in the chat, tell me one thing that you can take into the school year that will raise your floor. Right? Just drop something in there. Will it be a shift in teacher mindset? Will it be a rehearsal strategy change? Will it be a student expectation? Right? Will we start allowing our students to show us instead of us telling them? For me, it's going to be the realization that the way I enter every rehearsal will either support or suffocate my program success. Will I choose to be efficient or effective? Right? Will I choose to react quickly and just give the answers, or will I allow the students the opportunity to make the mistakes and grow through them? Will I choose effectiveness knowing that the time and the effort spent will make the progress slower, but it will yield overall success? Right? What are you going to do going into this school year? What can you do? Right? I love that someone in the chat said, I want to raise the school's floor as well as my program. That's amazing. All right. So, and then I'll finish you, my friends, with saying this. I'll leave you with this, and I'm done with you. Every rehearsal teaches students what to believe about themselves. Right? The greatest thing we can teach isn't tone. It isn't articulation. It isn't rhythm. It's a belief. So if every rehearsal teaches students what to believe about themselves, I challenge you to teach them that they can. Thank you so very much for being with me. I know that was a lot of information there. Raising the floor. I'll stop sharing the screen there. There's my information. But I just want to say thank you so very much for being with me today. I know it's right on the time for our next session. But I am available. I'll drop this slide presentation in the chat and allow you have the opportunity to converse with me. So raise your floor. That's my challenge.
This was amazing. Everybody, can y'all unmute and Thank Dr. Pitts. Like, you drop gems, jewels, like everything bombs. Like, I don't know if I want to be in your family because you kept it real with us when you said, "Come on, family." But this was amazing. And just seeing the visual of the floor being raised every time one student was transformed. So thank you so much for taking the time out today. They're asking, there were no questions in the chat. You gave, your instructions were very clear. Everybody was just amening you, okay? So thank you. And I'm sure they want to have your email. I'm sure that's going to be in your presentation. So if you drop it, for those of you who are attending, we have the link to all of our session presentations in the Google Drive. So Greg dropped it in the chat. If you just joined it, we'll drop it again. But thank you so much, Dr. Pitts. This has been amazing. And I need a classroom so I can go implement some of this stuff. But thank you so much. And now we're going to, are we going to go directly into it? I see Greg is unmuted, so I'm going to turn it over to you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, we're just waiting. Sada's trying to unmute.
Okay.
Dr. Pitts, real quick, are you a pastor?
I am not.
You're not? Okay.
I am not.
You
No.
need to pass the offering plate. Okay.
I think you got a calling on your life.
To God be the glory.
Yes.
Amen. Oh, wait.